Good morning, Year 5. Welcome to another maths lesson just for you guys. So this time we are going to be subtracting decimals. But before we do that, we've got some more arithmetic for you to do. So again, no more than 5 minutes. Do as much as you can in 5 minutes. Time yourself would be really good as well. And then check your answers at the end. So pause the video and have a go at these ones. Okay, and here are the answers. So check against that. Hopefully you did a little bit better than yesterday. And as long as we keep improving, that's all we need to do. So moving on to today's lesson. So like I said, we are subtracting decimals within one. What we mean by that is numbers which are less than one. So decimals which are less than one. So they won't even have one whole in them. It's always going to be 0 point something, because there's not even one whole. So if we look at this representation of a number here, what number have we got? We have got 0 in the ones column. We've got 3/10, we've got 400ths and 4,000ths, which means we have 0.344. So if we think about subtracting, there are different ways we can talk about subtracting, and we could say less than. So what is 3/10 less than the number? So what is 3/10 less than this number? So if I took away 3/10, what would I have? I'd still have 0 point, there'd now be 0/10, still 400ths and still 4,000. So it'd be 0.044. So that's one way of talking about subtraction, saying less than. Another way could just be saying take away. So take away 0.02. So if we start again, and this time we're taking away 0.02. So 0.02. So we know we're taking away from the hundredths column. So I'm taking away 200ths. So then I'm left with 0.3, and there's 2 left there, and 4,000 still. So 0.324. And then the last one, subtract. So that's the kind of the key word we're going to use when we're talking about taking away, is subtract. So I'm going to subtract 1,000. So I can just take away and do that. Take away 1,000. And I'm left with 0.343. So there's some questions here just to get you thinking and demonstrating that you really understand what this place value chart represents and what we mean when we're subtracting. So have a little think about your answers to these questions. You don't need to write them down. Just think about to yourself, what would your answer be to that question? So pause the video now. Okay, so what is the number represented on the place value chart? So that one, we already had 0.344. What is 1/10 less than 1? So if I think of one whole, and what is 1/10 less than that whole, than that one? So if I've got 1 here, what is 1/10 less? Well, we've got to remember that 1 is equal to 10/10. So 1 is the same as 10/10. So what is 1/10 less? So if I take away one of those tenths, then I'm going to have 9/10. So hopefully you thought about 9/10 for that one. And what is 100th less than 1? So if we're thinking about one whole again, one whole can also be thought of as 100 hundredths. So 1 whole is the same as 100 hundredths. So if I take away 1/100th away from that, I'll have 99 hundredths. So I'll have 0.99 if I take 1/100th away. Okay. So thinking about how we would do this if we need to do some exchanging. So sometimes when we're subtracting, as we do with numbers greater than 1, as you're used to, sometimes you don't have enough in the particular column, so you need to exchange from the next column along. So we need to understand how that works and why that works. So if I've got this question here, 0.22 take away 0.03. So I'm going to represent it in a place value chart. So here I've got 0.22. So I'm going to take away 0.03. So the problem with that is I've only got 2 hundredths here, but I need to take away 3 hundredths. But we know that in each of these tenths, there are lots of hundredths in there. So each of those tenths is worth the same as 10 hundredths. So I would need to move one of those tenths over into my hundredths so that I've got enough to subtract. So like you would usually do when you're doing your column subtractions, you're going to exchange. So I'm going to exchange one of those tenths for 10 hundredths. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've still got the same number here at the moment. All I've done is exchange one of those tenths for 10 hundredths. So now I can take away 3 hundredths. So 1, 2, 3. So what is my answer now? So I've got 0 ones, point, and then I've got 1/10 left, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hundredths. So I've got 0.19. Just another way of thinking about it. So if we were to represent it in a bar model, you'd think about your whole at the top as being 0.22, and you're going to take one of those parts away. So if I took away one part being 0.03, that would leave me with 0.19 left. Okay, another couple of questions just for you to think about. Reflect on your answers too. So I'm going to pause the video, have a think of your answers, and then we'll talk about it after. Okay, so the first one, if I'm taking away tenths, which digit will be affected? Is this always the case? So if I'm taking away just tenths, which digit will be affected? So if I'm taking away tenths, the tenths will be affected. But will any others be affected? It depends, doesn't it? If I've got 1/10 in here and I'm taking away 1/10, then only the tenths are going to be affected. I'd have 0/10 left. But if I've got 1/10 in here and I'm trying to take away 2/10, then the ones would be affected too, because I would need to exchange any ones and exchange them for tenths so I could take away the tenths. And then how many hundredths can I take away before the tenths place is affected? So I guess that would depend on how many hundredths you had. But if you had 9 hundredths there, as soon as you take away more than 9, then you're going to need to start thinking about exchanging from the other places as well. So moving on. So the most familiar way of doing this will be using column method. So you could do, for example, 0.618, take away 0.424. So as well as doing it in the place value chart, you can represent it as your standard column as well. So I would start with the thousandths. So 8 thousandths, take away 4 thousandths, would leave me with 4 thousandths. 100th, take away 2 hundredths. So I can't do that. So I'm going to need to exchange, just like we did with the place value charts. So I'm going to exchange 1/10 for 10 hundredths. Okay, so then I can do 11, take away the 2, give me 9, and then 5, take away the 4, be 1. And I've got to put the 0 point so I know that it is less than 1 and it is 0 point something. So 0.194. Okay. Now there is another way you can do this, and I've talked to my class about this a few times, but there may be, the rest of you might be familiar with it as well, but it's using a number line, because when we're thinking of subtracting, we don't just mean taking away. We actually also mean counting up. Counting up is the same as subtracting. It's just another way of thinking about it. And I can guarantee you that sometimes when you're doing your mental subtraction, when you're working out a quick subtraction in your head, I can guarantee you that sometimes you're doing it by counting up, not just taking away all the time. Think about it. So if I had this question, for example, if I had 63 take away 28, I might choose to do that by counting up instead of trying to exchange by doing 3 take away 8. The way I would count up is I would think I've got a number line. So I've got a number line, I'm starting at 28, and I'm going to count up to 63. I'm not going to go count up in ones, going 28, 29, 30, etc. I'm going to go in jumps. So I'm going to go up to the most obvious places. So I'm going to go from 28 up to 30. Makes sense to go up to 30 because that's a nice, easy number that I can count more on quickly. So to get from 28 up to 30 was 2. Then what would the next obvious one to be go up to would probably be 60. So then I'm going to count up to 60 because it's really easy to count from 30 to 60. All I've done is add on 30. And then the last jump from 60 to 63 is going to be another 3. So then all I have to do is add these numbers together to find out the total that I've counted up to get from 28 to 63. So in total, I counted up 35. So the answer to 63 take away 28 should be 35. So we can apply this to our decimal question as well. So if I start with 0.424, I can count up to 0.618. So again, I'm going to think about those easy jumps that I can make, not try and do the whole thing at once. So first of all, I could go up to the nearest hundredth. So at the moment, I've got 4 thousandths and 2 hundredths. So the first step I'm going to do is count up to 0.43. So what do I need to add on to get up to from 0.424 to 0.43? I'm going to need to count up 6 thousandths, so 0.06. So because I'm using my number bonds to 10, aren't I? So 4 add the 6 will give me another hundredth, which will give me 3 hundredths, and I've exchanged it across. So from there, I'm going to go to the nearest tenth. So from 0.4, I'm going to count up to 0.5. And then to get up to 0.5, I'm going to add on 7 hundredths, so 0.07. And then from there, I could go straight up to 0.618 because I'm going to be adding on another tenth plus the 18 thousandths. So then it would be 0.118. And then what I would do is add all these together. So I could do 0.118, 0.07, and 0.006. Oh, there we go. So 8 and 6. 9, 10. Be 14. That took long, far too long. 7 and 1, 8, and then 9, and then 1 there, and 0.194. So we get the same answer. Not necessarily easy in this question. It depends on the question whether you would want to use this method or use column method. It just depends entirely on the question. Okay, time for you to have a go. So for these questions, silver questions, have a go at answering these. But for the first 3, I'd like you to draw the place value chart and do the column next to it. So just for the first 3 questions, do the place value chart and show the exchanging if you have to do any, and draw the column calculation next to it. And then for the rest of them, you can do it any way you like. You could try doing it with a number line for one of them. And yeah, but I'm imagining for the most part, you'll be using column for the others. So have a go at these silver questions. Okay, and then here are your answers to check. So see how many of those you got right. If you got any wrong, have another go. So check it, and if you got it incorrect, have another go, see if you get it right the next time. Okay, and then your gold questions. So pause the video and have a go at tackling these ones. Okay, so answers for these ones. So we've got, so I can't work out 0.56 take away 0.099 because 99 is bigger than 56. Do you agree with either? No, because we're not talking about 99 and 56. We're talking about 0.56 and 0.099. And we know that this 5 is in the 10th place and this 6 is in the 100th place. But that 5 means that this number, 0.56, is much, much larger than 0.099. This number doesn't have any tenths. So just because 99 is bigger than 56, we're not talking about 99 and 56. We're talking about 0.56 and 0.099. Just because 9s are bigger than 5s and 6s, it depends which place value that place is in. So no, we don't agree with either. And hopefully you worked out 0.461. And then this one, find the difference between 53 hundredths and 8 tenths. So you're doing 8 tenths, take away 53 hundredths, whichever method you might have used, and hopefully you got 0.27. So moving on to our platinum questions. So pause the video again and have a go at these ones. Okay, and then the answers. Hopefully you were successful at tackling these ones. A little bit of a challenge for platinum. Okay, well done everyone. I hope that was really successful for you, and I'll see you in the next video.